What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Courtside Chats with me and Revolt Sports. Round 2 has officially taken off and the boys did not come to play. We have so much to talk about, from MJ comparisons to suspensions and more. So let's get right into it. So before we get into all the action, I want to do a fun little segment I'd like to call Match Me, where I go series by series and give you my favorite player matchups from each series. The only thing is, this week, I feel like it's not evenly matched player by player on some teams, and you'll see what I mean, but it's going to be a little different this week, okay? First up, I'd like to start with the Celtics versus the Cavs. Now, we are going to talk about bench versus bench. Not only do the Celtics have one of the best starting fives in the whole league, but they also have really good support from their bench. And the Cavs, not so much. Peyton Pritchard scored 16 points off the bench for the Celtics, and the entire Cavs bench, well, the ones that played, scored 15 points total. That's not going to be enough to even keep them in this series. Without Donovan Mitchell going absolutely crazy, the Cavs don't stand a chance, and they need some of their others to step up as well. So if they can't compete with the Celtics bench, it might look like a sweep. Now, Knicks Pacers. This one is quite simple. Tyrese Haliburton, Jalen Brunson. Who can be the bigger star? And it's looking like Jalen Brunson right about now. Tyrese Haliburton isn't looking great. Now, they had some issues with the refereeing in the first game. I'm sure that that's going to change in the second one. But which one of those stars can show up for their team, carry, and shine the brightest? Looking like Jalen Brunson so far. Now, OKC versus the Mavs. This one is interesting, and I think the most interesting matchup here is Lu Dort and Luka Doncic. Now, Luka is hobbled. He does have a sprained right knee, and it's looking like that's bothering him a little more than we originally thought. But you know what's really bothering him more than we originally thought? Lu Dort. Luka was held to 19 points and 6 of 19 from shooting. I think that it's not looking like the Luka magic we're used to in the playoffs. And I think it's because Lu Dort is giving him a hard time. He's running him around that court like a track meet. I think it's going to be tough for Luka for the rest of the series. Now, remember when I said that some of these matchups seem unfair? It doesn't seem player to player. It seems a lot bigger than that. I'm talking about Nuggets versus Wolves. This was Jokic and Murray versus them dogs. Honey, their defense, the T-Wolves, was insane on the Nuggets. We haven't seen this before. Now, Jokic and Murray are the only ones who can create offense off of the Nuggets team, and they shut them down. So with them shutting down Jokic and Murray, it looked like they didn't know what to do. They got absolutely killed, and they did it without Rudy Gobert, their now 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, and they looked that good on the defensive end. It's going to be rough. Now, Jamal Murray was extremely frustrated. He held the money sign up to the refs, which cha-ching could be a fine from the NBA. Then after that, he threw a towel onto the court, which also could be a fine from the NBA. And then he threw a heating pad onto the court, which is extremely dangerous and also could be a fine from the NBA, and was so frustrated after all of this, he didn't go into talking to reporters after the game, which also could be a problem for the NBA. He ended up not getting suspended, as some people originally thought he should have been. He was fined $100,000, which is a lot of money, okay? But I think had this not been as big of a star, had this been KCP or even like Michael Porter Jr., I think he would have been suspended because he could have seriously got somebody hurt. But because he is the reason that the Nuggets are in this position, hitting clutch shots, people love to watch him, they're not about to suspend him in the middle of the playoffs, especially when this could be the Nuggets' last series. So I'm curious how this would have gone had this been anybody else but Jamal Murray, but I guess we'll never know. I hope he calms down. He doesn't get as frustrated by the T-Wolves D in next series or in the next game, but we'll see. Listen, at this point, Anthony Edwards is not beating the allegations. I know he said he was getting a little frustrated by being compared to Michael Jordan, but fans are starting to put highlights of Michael Jordan next to highlights of Ant and compare the two, memes next to the two. They're doing similar celebrations. It's looking like the spitting image of Michael Jordan. I almost feel bad for Ant because at 22 years old, those are some big shoes to fill, being compared to Michael Jordan so often. But how amazing he looked in game 1 versus the defending champs. I'm sorry, Ant, not beating the MJ allegations. It reminds me of the spitting image of Michael Jordan. Y'all, the league is not gonna like this. So Timberwolves center Rudy Gobert has been named the Defensive Player of the Year for the 4th time. This puts him in some elite company with Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace, and that makes him one of the best defensive players ever. Now, the reason I said the league isn't gonna like this because if you remember from the AP player poll, only 6% of those players voted for Rudy, and they voted him as the most overrated player in the league. So clearly they do not agree that he is this high defensive player like they seem to in the voting. So I just want to know, who is up in these rooms voting for Rudy, okay? Or do the players just hate him that much that they just don't want to admit that he's that good defensively? I don't know. But as the playoffs go on and the way the T-Wolves are shutting down the Nuggets right now, when Rudy comes back, we'll see if he can prove himself. The playoffs are really heating up, and some of these round 2 matchups are too good. I want to know what y'all are looking forward to in the second round of the NBA playoffs. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Courtside Chats with me and Revolt Sports. Y'all gotta stay locked in as we break down all of the action all playoffs long.